For today's cup of coffee, we're going to continue on as far as the theme of werewolves. And,
Werewolves in London. Werewolves in London.
One of the things about werewolves, the mythology of the werewolf is fascinating, but the problem that I have had with this one is the actual ability to physically transform a form.
Yeah.
As far as the lengthening of bones and that,
the facial shapes distorting into some other creature.
Right. And, where a lot of things can be on a spiritual level, all right, can things like that truly manifest to that degree on a physical level?
That's like, for example, with the movie Exorcist and the girl spinning her head around.
That
doesn't actually physically happen with exorcisms.
Well, that didn't.
That didn't happen with that exorcism.
No,
either.
It didn't. There was a tremendous amount of Hollywood hype that ruined a wonderful story. But now the one that I had watched a few weeks back that had Timothy Dalton in it, that was based on it, that was really, really good. And I can't remember what the name of that one was called. I'll have to look that one up.
Yeah, you're going to have to.
Because it was an excellent movie. So that one, and it was closer to the actual account of what happened than the Linda Blair thing.
Yeah.
So, Now, do they expel nastiness? Well, of course they do. They're demons.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, yeah, they can vomit, they can spit, they can do whatever, they can snot,
defecate,
scratch themselves, defecate.
Again, it's defilement. That anything that is nasty and filthy and repulsive on any level, that's what they deal in.
Yeah.
So, it's just one of those things. But with the werewolf legend, looking for more recent accounts, and I did find some, but, they were just, meh. And so you're like, okay, and as far as the accounts from, like, the 1500s, those are some of the most noted ones.
Yeah, those are the better ones. The others, the newer ones, are just meh burgers.
Well, yeah.
Burgers. My nose is stopped up. I can't say stuff right.
It's okay.
It's because it's so muggy and stuffy out here.
It is muggy. But anyhow, and that was where, again, you had like the cannibalism and different things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And to go back and it's like, okay, did it just stop? If something like that goes on, why would it suddenly stop? Or did it ever happen in reality to begin with?
Or did they just go in the shadows and do it more stealthily?
Werewolves are not known for stealth.
That's true.
More along the vampire thing. So, researching this, there is something that is called clinical lycanthropy. And
lycanthropy, okay, yeah.
And I thought that was pretty cool. And this is not to be confused with werewolf syndrome.
Okay, so they're two separate things?
They are. Now, werewolf syndrome is, you always say this, hypertrichosis.
Yeah.
And that
I think that's how you pronounce it, I think.
Right, and the hypertrichosis is an abnormal amount of hair growth over the body, and there are two types. One of them that is generalized hypertrichosis, and then the other one that is localized, which is restricted to a certain area.
Yeah, but that's completely different than werewolf syndrome.
Exactly.
Werewolves London. That's like, literally, it's an excess of hair growth. That's literally it. They don't think that they're werewolves or anything like that.
They don't. They're just fuzzy.
They're a little more than fuzzy. They're full on cats at that point.
Well, anyhow. But with the clinical lycanthropy, this is defined as a rare psychiatric syndrome that involves a delusion that the affected person can transform into, has transformed into, or is an animal. And this does come from Wikipedia. Wikipedia has its good points. All right, its name is associated with the mythical condition of lycanthropy, a supernatural affliction in which humans are said to physically shapeshift into wolves. And the clinical lycanthropy, is purported to be a rare disorder.
Speak English, ass monkey.
Affected individuals believe that they are in the process of transforming into an animal or have already transformed into an animal. It has been associated with the altered states of mind that accompany psychosis, with the transformation only seeming to happen in the mind and behavior of the affected person. A study on lycanthropy from the McLean Hospital, I would have loved to have been in on that clinical study. Oh, that would have been fascinating.
I don't know anything about that clinical study, so I have no idea whether it's good or not.
But it reported on a series of cases and proposed some diagnostic criteria by which lycanthropy could be recognized. And the criteria includes a patient reports in a moment of lucidity or reminiscence that they sometimes feel as an animal or have felt like one. Another one is a patient behaves in a manner that resembles animal behavior, for example, howling, growling, or crawling.
Ew.
And the third criteria...
If some person crawls at me, I'm hitting it with a stick.
Absolutely.
Squish!
And then according to these criteria, either a delusional belief in current or past transformation or behavior that suggests a person thinks of themselves as transformed is considered evidence of clinical lycanthropy. The authors note that although the condition seems to be an expression of psychosis, there is no specific diagnosis of mental or neurological illness associated with its behavioral consequences.
But did they not say that it's like a mental thing right there that they believe? So how is that not a formal diagnosis?
Well, it says that they think it's an expression of psychosis. And
it is an expression of psychosis.
Well, they don't know that because there's different categorizations of mental conditions and stuff, and so it may not fit into just one, is what they're saying. Okay. They understand, they're agreeing that it is a mental health issue.
Right.
But as far as the classification, and part of it does have to do with the rarity of it. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
It also seems that lycanthropy is not specific to an experience of human-to-wolf transformation. A wide variety of creatures have been reported as part of the shape-shifting experience. A review of the medical literature from early 2004 lists over 30 published cases of lycanthropy. Now, that's over a year, so 30 cases. So, yeah, that's pretty rare.
Yeah.
Only the majority of which have been wolf or dog themes. The minority of which have been wolf or dog themes.
Wolf.
So they're just lumping everything under lycanthropy because that is the more associated term of a human transforming into an animal. I get that,
Yeah.
Because you don't want 50,000 labels on stuff. I mean, my God, that's cumbersome. We've seen that in recent times also.
Yeah, that's true. But still.
Well, it says canines are certainly not uncommon, although the experience of being transformed into a hyena, cat, horse, bird, or tiger has been reported on more than one occasion. Transformation into frogs and even bees has been reported in some instances.
Oh yes, I'm gonna be a bee. Let me sting you with my ass.
Well, it's just like I kept thinking.
Buzz, buzz, bitch, buzz, buzz.
That song by Blind Melon. Was that the name of the group was? With the little bee girl.
Yeah, Blind Melon.
God love her. And so says that in Japan, transformation into foxes and dogs was usual. And I think that there is a myth in Japan about the werefoxes, isn't there? It seems like somewhere in my wanderings that I read about that.
I think so. I believe. I don't remember. I'm rusty on my Japanese mythology.
Well, you need to study up on that. A 1989 case study described how one individual reported a serial transformation, experiencing a change from human to dog, to horse, and then finally cat, before returning to the reality of human existence after treatment. There are also reports of people who experienced transformation into an animal, only listed as unspecified. Well, they knew they were an animal, but they didn't know exactly which kind.
It's literally like that.
It says that there is a case study of a psychiatric patient who had both clinical lycanthropy and Cotard's delusions. And Cotard delusion is also known as walking corpse syndrome. And it's a rare mental disorder in which the affected person holds the delusional belief that they are dead, do not exist, are putrefying, or have lost their blood or internal organs. I think that's pretty cool. I wouldn't want to experience it, but as far
the thought
as
of it is pretty cool. But on the other hand, how do you think that your organs have just been replaced?
Well, how do people have delusions about anything?
I don't know. Psychosis.
Well, exactly. I mean,
it's all psychosis.
It is. Clinical lycanthropy
now,
is a
very. Now, start seeing like rotten corpses, like walking the earth, like literal Walking Dead, like straight out of the grave.
Right.
That's gonna be freaky as hell, and I'm gonna go knock some heads off.
Well, yeah. I mean, you've got to think on that. That's shoot them in the head type thing. Clinical lycanthropy is a very rare condition and is largely considered to be the expression of a psychiatric episode caused by another condition such as schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or clinical depression. And I don't know, as far as the clinical depression and people becoming delusional.
Clinical depression does not make you think that you are something else.
I'm not, unless they have changed the criteria over the years, which very well could have happened. I'm not sure about that being associated with clinical depression.
Now, there's a difference between severe depression and clinical depression.
No, it's the same thing. Clinical depression just means that it has been officially, professionally diagnosed.
But, I mean, it can make people delusional, but not to the point that they think that they are something else.
It can make them delusional in the fact that they believe that they are worthless and that type thing, but that's more ideology than it is delusional.
Yeah.
So I think you sort of tip over the edge into another diagnosis when you start having delusions.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say. Like, it takes a lot. Like, it takes something else to make you think that something else.
Yeah.
Is.
So, anyhow, it says there are suggestions that certain neurological conditions and cultural influences may result in the expression of human to animal transformation themes that defines the condition. One important factor may be differences or changes in parts of the brain known to be involved in representing body shape. A neuroimaging study of 2 people diagnosed with clinical lycanthropy showed that these areas displayed unusual activation, suggesting that when people report their bodies are changing shape, they may be genuinely perceiving those feelings. And that's got to be horrifying for these individuals that have this condition.
Yeah, it has to be.
In rare instances, individuals may believe that other people have transformed into animals. This has been termed lycanthropic intermetamorphosis. And at this point in the day, it was a miracle that I could even bumble through that. Or lycanthropy spectrum. You're just not autistic. You're just on the spectrum. You're not werewolf. You're just on the spectrum.
Look what you did to my bottle. Look what you did to that. I
didn't touch it.
You did that.
A 2009 study reported that after the consumption of the drug ecstasy, a man displayed symptoms of paranoid psychosis.
No shit. That's what fucking acid
Don't
does.
do drugs, kids. By claiming that his relatives had changed into various animals. What is ecstasy? It's not LSD. Such as a boar, a donkey, and a horse. Now that sounds like something was laced there.
I'm a jackass.
Well,
They're a jackass. Yeah.
And there was a woman who had written several parts of the Bible. Her name is Catherine Clark Kroger. And she said that, referring to King Nebuchadnezzar's behavior in the book of Daniel, Daniel chapter 4, that could have been a manifestation of clinical, lycanthropy.
Lycanthropy. Lichens.
Neurologist Andrew J. Larner has written of the fate of Odysseus' crew due to the magic of Circe, that may be one of the earliest examples of clinical lycanthropy. Yeah, that was where they believed that they were pigs or something like that, I think. I think that was the one as far as then going in with Cyclops. You didn't read the Iliad and the Odyssey, did you?
No.
Okay.
They snorting something.
Anyhow, it was believed that there were other historical people that also studied by lycanthropy. I will post the link. I am not going to try to pronounce a Persian name.
Let me see.
No, you're not either going to do it either. Anyhow, notions that lycanthropy was due to medical condition go back to the 7th century, when the Alexandrian physician Paulius Agenta, yeah, you see this with the Greek here, attributed lycanthropy to melancholia or an excess of black bile.
Ew.
Yeah. As far as I know, there's two. There's
Billy
Rubin and Billy Verde, which is a yellow and a green.
If someone is spitting tar, I want them to pave our driveway.
Yeah, really. It says during 1563, a Lutheran physician named Johann Weyer wrote that the werewolves suffered from an imbalance in their melancholic humor and exhibited the physical symptoms of paleness, a dry tongue, and a great thirst, as well as a sunken, dim, and dry eyes. That could be any diabetic out there.
Literally.
And it says even King James VI, and first, in his 1597 treatise Demonology, does not... It's spelled Greek. I defy you to do any better than I do on
demonology.
This. Does not blame werewolf behavior on delusions created by the devil, but, quote, an excess of melancholy is the culprit which causes some men to believe that they are wolves and to counterfeit the actions of these animals, end quote. The perception of an association between mental illness and animalistic behavior can be traced throughout the history of folklore from many different countries. That's, I think it was in the Amazon or something that they had jaguars and stuff like that. All cultures have had myths of shapeshifters.
But
the case example that they gave,
jaguars.
The case example they gave is a 20-year-old man who was admitted to a mental hospital due to his increasingly agitated and erratic behaviors. During his initial evaluation, he was guarded and preoccupied. He had no previous psychiatric history. Over the next few days, he displayed increasingly psychotic, animal-like behaviors. These behaviors included howling loudly, not just softly, he was howling loudly, running abruptly, and crawling on all fours. He appeared to be internally stimulated. When asked about these behaviors, he was initially evasive, but eventually admitted that he believed he was a werewolf and would periodically transform into a wolf. He started believing that after having visions of the devil years before and reported hearing random voices. The patient started on a medication and his symptoms gradually responded and his animal-like behaviors eventually ceased altogether. Now within this, I'm not going to discount a supernatural influence. Like I said, this very much could be a demonic something, some kind of a spiritual condition. But as far as someone being able to physically transform into another creature, no.
That's just not physically possible.
That is not how our bodies are designed.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a really good and interesting understanding into people that could have the belief system that they are werewolves, even as far as having the behaviors as such. The accounts, like I said, that were meh, I would be more... I could believe that it was some kind of a cryptid more than an actual werewolf.
Yeah, I would be like skinwalkers. Weenie boys.
Yeah, but those are spiritual things.
Uh-huh.
And it's one of those that those spiritual things can have the ability to manifest into our realm and dimension and then go back to their own. So they are not confined to the laws of physics as we are.
Right, and I understand that, but human bodies cannot do that.
No.
Only spirits can.
But you were talking about as far as the delusions, and when they were talking about this, that is somebody's reality.
Yeah.
And you cannot, it is pointless to argue with somebody who is delusional. Now, if you want someone to get potentially violent, then question their reality. But I thought it was interesting as far as the understanding that these people are not what they believe themselves to be internally. And yet we have other issues where people believe they are not what they're supposed to be internally. That is being accepted and encouraged. What's the difference?
Yeah, I mean, you're not a wolf. You're not a lion. I mean, you can have the zodiac of whatever, but, like, it's different. That's different than being an actual animal. Like, I'm a Pisces, but I'm not a fish.
I don't see that much difference
and I
between...
don't identify as a fish.
I don't see that much difference between the clinical lycanthropy and some of the things that's going on with the people that are into the otherkin, or that consider themselves otherkin.
I'm pretty sure that is the exact same thing.
It very well could be, and it would be interesting to have the brain imagery about these people. Now, there's a difference between those who truly, truly believe this and those who are basically role-playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the people who are role-playing, they do not think... They know for a fact that they are not whatever.
So...
It's just while they're in that role-play, they are. But
right.
That's completely different, because it's role-play!
Well, but this is where we have talked about, and these VR headsets, they concern me. Because if you've got somebody that has an undiagnosed mental health issue...
Oh, that can mess them up.
It absolutely could, cause some of them to go into a psychotic phase.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not blaming video games on this.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying...
But, like, as far as, like, the people who say, oh, I did this because of Grand Theft Auto, blah, 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 blah. Or I did this because of such and such horror games, this action game, whatever. It's like, no, you're using that as an excuse. That is not why you did that.
Well, and again, if somebody has a mental health issue, they very well may believe that, but it may not be the reality.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with a lot when you deal with somebody that has that has been diagnosed with a severe mental health issue.
Very much so.
And I've started including in the description boxes as far as not only a disclaimer, but there is like the National Mental Health Hotline if somebody thinks that they're in crisis or something like that. So that's, I felt that it was responsible, to put that there.
Absolutely, that's responsible. Absolutely. That is the most responsible thing to do.
Because, to discuss these things and not give somebody an option of seeking help, that's...
Even as far as talking to us or whatever, talking to you, people are allowed to do that no matter what.
Sure, and
but
it's like...
But also, it's like... We can't fix everything, but we will hear you out.
Right, and we're not saying...
And we will also tell you, seek help. Professional help.
And it's like, we cross that line as far as what is the realm of spirit and what is psychiatry. And I think that they're trying to explain away everything. Even as far as that, them saying they're not sure what this is. So it very well could be some kind of an unclean spirit. It's a spiritual condition on that.
Yeah.
And, if somebody has witnessed somebody turn into another creature or being... Please let us know, because then I will take a totally different look on any of this.
Right, exactly, yeah.
I'm going from a biological standpoint as far as what it would take for bones to lengthen and then shrink back down. And
because that would take some serious physical manipulation to do that.
Absolutely.
Like, that would honestly damage the human skeleton, the human form. That would damage it. Even if it was possible, your skin would rip, it would stretch, whatever. It would show physical things.
Right. And so it's like
physical harm.
You might be able to transform once, but could you do it in reverse? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So,
Then again, if people are able to, physically form, notice how it's, and I'm using these as an example because it's the only example I have, because, never experienced real people changing into other creatures or whatever. They're always depicted as the transformation being extremely painful.
Right.
And uncomfortable.
Well, yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it's physically, like, you're changing.
Yes.
Into some other entity.
Well, and in a lot of the folklore, it wasn't just a matter of being cursed or bitten. I don't know exactly where the bitten thing came from.
I think that came
from Hollywood or something.
Such.
But I remember I can't remember what, it was one of the European countries or something, that there was a myth that these children had gone out on the mountainside and that there was a particular flower, that it was supposed to be a smallish purple flower, that the center of it looked almost like a pearl. And that when they picked those flowers, that it transformed them into werewolves. And what was interesting, within those legends, they didn't attack random whomever, they went after family members. And that some of the ways that you could break the curse of the werewolf, and I was looking at that last night, one of them was to speak their given name. Now that goes back a lot as far as even demons and stuff, to know the name of the demon.
Yeah.
But also that somebody that loved them could shake an article of clothing at them and it would break the curse.
Would that be the same as something that they held dear to them? Like, let's say if it was a blanket that was their favorite, or a toy,
Possibly.
or a piece of jewelry.
Well, in the same...
or a book.
In the same whatever it was that I was reading, this was years ago, this woman had, I think it was her husband or somebody like that, had been transformed into the werewolf, and that she had taken her apron off and had shaken it at him, and he, transformed back.
Okay.
So, and
like
I said, every culture, it's interesting that they do have these stories of transformation.
Right. Yeah.
But as far as the belief that one is...
Do they say that they're painful with the transformation?
No, I don't think that has been reported. It's just that they did transform. I know that Mom had read a book in psychology when she was in college and shared that with me about some guy had taken peyote, and he believed that he was, I think he had transformed into a coyote or something and was running around peeing on everything. Just marking his territory. So drugs very well could be a factor in some of these things.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Don't do meth.
Don't do any kind of drugs, folks. I mean,
you can do weed. That doesn't give you psychosis.
Well, it depends. Now, there are some people that it has been documented that even with marijuana and stuff like that, it can cause a psychotic effect.
That has to be few and far in between.
I don't know.
I mean, like, it can cause paranoia, but that's usually due to the THC.
But I'm sure, but it's like, not every person, never assume that you are going to have the same response to a drug as someone else.
Yeah.
So,
everybody reacts differently.
Absolutely.
So I guess it really does depend on, like, person by person case.
Right. Well, and it was like talking with people on the channel here quite a while back to find out that I have a condition that is called whiteout. which is why I've, as far as with the
Do you bleed white
fibromyalgia
out?
and
Can
stuff.
I use, if
Really.
I prick your finger, can
Yeah,
I use
really.
you to erase my mistakes?
Yeah, wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
But it's like, so as far as me using certain substances, no, I can't do it. No. That is one of the few plants that I have ever had a severe adverse reaction to.
It's odd.
It is odd. It is odd. But anyhow, the odd is our state of being. So,
very much so.
If you've had experiences with werewolves, either being one or witnessing one in transformation.
Are you a werewolf?
Are you
an oomph? Are you an oomph?
If you've had paranormal or supernatural encounters, experiences with UFOs, aliens, cryptids. What are you going? He's leaning towards the camera. I don't know what he's doing.
Big feet.
Yeah, on the Bigfoot,
feet.
of course. Local legends, myths, different things like that. Then
Zucchini
please.
monster, flying spaghetti monster.
Well, this flying spaghetti monster is something that atheists use to make fun of those of us that are Christian.
I think they used it for any religion, but yeah.
Yeah, well, anyhow, I don't know. I think a lot of times.
There are people that actually believe the flying spaghetti monster is real.
In today's world, it's very easy to manipulate people's brains.
Very.
Very. Anyhow, send us an email at cupofcoffeewithscream@gmail.com, and the email address is in the description box, so that you don't have to just try to write it down as I say it.
Contact her about anything and everything.
Well, not anything and everything. No, I have limits and boundaries on
That's
things.
True. Yeah. Reasonable. Everything and everything.
Yeah, reasonable. And it's like I said, we're not discounting anybody's experience.
It's just we have a healthy dose of skepticism.
If somebody has an experience, we're not going to sit there and say, oh, you're delusional. No, we're not, because that is your experience.
Absolutely.
A lot of these things, I thoroughly believe that these delusions and stuff have a spiritual component to them.
Yeah, and like, for example, I'm a paranormal I want to be a
Right.
professional paranormal investigator. I just don't want to get the degree in parapsychology.
Yeah, well, it's few and far. I think that it was over there in Britain or someplace like that you can get the actual degree.
Yeah.
I don't think they certify that here in the States anymore. So that sucks. But anyhow.
Yeah, that does suck.
But you all have a wonderful day. And, yeah. It's Friday the 13th as we're recording this, so go out and howl at the moon.
Don't get killed by Jason.
No.
Be leery of machete-wielding
Idiots.
people.
Yeah.
Jason wasn't an idiot. He was just mentally handicapped.
Mentally handicapped? He was batshit crazy. Are you kidding?
He was mentally handicapped.
He was
mentally
evil.
No, he was mentally handicapped, and he was manipulated by his mother.
When you are a serial killer, that goes a little more than mentally challenged.
He was. He was manipulated by his mother, who taught him that it was okay to, kill all these people and get revenge.
Okay, that's like The Hills Have Eyes. It was a whole family that was batshit crazy. That doesn't make it okay.
I mean, I'm not saying it was a good thing. I'm giving a reasoning behind it.
Anyhow, you all have a
pity for the poor fuck. for the poor fuck. For the poor fuck.
You should have stopped. You should have stopped while you were ahead.
Listen.
You all
I don't feel good.
Have a beautiful, blessed day. Bye.
Werewolves London.